everyone. Welcome to episode 32 of the Pip and Pin Podcast. My name is Megan Nodecker, and I am a knitwear designer from Abbotsford, British Columbia in Canada. You can find me on Instagram as Pip and Pin and on Ravelry as Knit Pip and Pin. Today is March the 8th. Oh goodness, it's already almost halfway through March. It felt like February didn't exist at all. We had pretty much 2 weeks of snow days, which was crazy. But if you can see outside right now, it's absolutely beautiful. I just walked Georgia to school and it was so lovely. And there's birds and there's things and we saw flowers. It was lovely. And yesterday was more snow. So I don't know what happened yesterday and the day before, but Justin was home again yesterday because it snowed like, not like it snowed a lot. The roads were fine and everything was fine, but he works outside. He works on roofs outside on ladders. And so if there's snow on the roof, then he can't really go to work. So there was too much snow yesterday for him to go to work, even though the roads and stuff were fine. And then today it's like, I don't know, I think it's like 8 degrees or something outside. It's crazy. 8 degrees Celsius. So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's warm. What I'm wearing. I'm not wearing anything knitted, no. But last week I had talked about my adventures in the thrift store and all of the tops that I got there. And how my general rule when I go to the thrift store, my general rule when I go to any store now is if I don't love it, I don't buy it. If I have to like hum and haw about it and like pull it and do weird things, it's not coming home with me, because if I do that in the store, I'm definitely going to do that at home and then I just won't wear it. My other rule from the thrift store, especially because I used to do this all the time, is don't buy things with the intention of altering them, because then they go into a pile, which goes into a drawer, which goes into a box, back to the thrift store, because it never gets done. And so out of the 6 tops that I bought 2 weeks ago, I broke the rule twice, kind of, because one of them was missing a button. So I had to, and there wasn't a spare one, so I had to put all new buttons on it, which I did. I did do that. And then this one needed some altering as well, which is why I'm talking about it, because I also did that. So I did both of the alterations that I needed to do, which is very impressive for me. This one, all that really needed to be done is, I think it's like a 2XL or something, and the bottom fits really nicely. Like it's just like a rayon. So the bottom fit really nicely. It kind of came out and it just very flowy, very lovely. The top part, like the shoulders fit nice, and I mean the zipper, it's kind of cool. It's not my favorite part, but whatevs. But it was right here, and I find this a lot, and I don't know if this is just something that I run into, or if people who, because if I was to buy this top in a medium to fit here, it would be way too tight across my hips and my stomach, and it wouldn't have the, like, I'll stand up just to give you an idea of kind of what, like, it's very flowy on the bottom, and that is probably the biggest thing I look for in a shirt is how floaty it is. And in a 2XL, that's the thing that I want. I don't have, a super large chest, I don't think, but if I was to, I don't know. I'm just wondering if I'm the only one who like doesn't think clothes are made for body shapes, especially on the larger end. I don't know. What my issue was right under here, there was just a ton of extra fabric. Like I think it came out 2 inches or like an inch on either side, extra fabric just right here. So like it would come out and then down. So I just decided that was an easy fix. It's one seam down the side. And I did that. And I made sure to not follow the seam down, because then that would obviously defeat the flowy, nice bottom. So I just kind of did it diagonal. And the easiest way that I found to do that is to just get some, like, turn it inside out and pin it, just so that it's pin the sides together so that they're flat. And then get some tape. I just had some Scotch tape lying around. And I just made a line. So I measured it out so that they were even on both sides, did a little diagonal line, and then sewed along the edge of the tape. And then that way you don't have to like use a ruler and do things, especially with this fabric. It was very like, it didn't really want to stay still. So plus I didn't need it to be perfect. Like I haven't trimmed any of the seams or anything, and I probably won't. My sewing machine only sews straight. It's an old sewing machine from like the early 60s or something, and it goes backwards and forwards in a straight line. That's what it does. So if I was to cut the thing, and then I would have to like actually finish the seam properly, and I don't want to do that. So I don't have a serger, so I'm just gonna leave it. After I did that, there was this weird thing that was happening up here, and there was like too much extra fabric up here. So I did this weird dart as well, just kind of here to get rid of that weird extra fabric there as well. And I know like this is not the place where bust darts go, but I figured I'm probably gonna be the only one. Well, I guess now you know too, but I put my bust darts in a really weird spot. They're not even bust darts. They're just to get rid of that weird extra fabric. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It took like 10 minutes to do this morning. The hardest thing for me when it comes to projects like this, where it's something that takes so little time, is actually just like getting out my sewing machine and setting up the table and doing it. Like if I had my sewing machine set up all the time, I'm sure I would have just done it when I got home from the thrift store. You know what I mean? Like it's actually getting it out and getting all the supplies I need ready. That's the hardest part for me. Doing it is no big deal. It's just getting ready to do it and then cleaning everything up after. I mean, we live in a very small apartment, so my stuff can't be everywhere, unfortunately. I'm not the only person that lives here. Man, when I lived alone, it was awesome. I had 2 bedrooms. And my craft stuff could just be everywhere. It was great. So that's what I'm wearing. An altered, thrifted top. Before I get started into showing you my knitting stuff, I wanted to talk about what happened last weekend. And if you don't know, last weekend I was in Vancouver. I was at West Coast Wools. On Friday night, I did a trunk show, like a wine and cheese trunk show. And then on Saturday, I did a workshop for the book Strand. And the wine and cheese night was really fun. I almost was super late. I'm glad I left my house really early. And I'm super glad that I did, because I was almost late. Yeah, it was, yeah. There's basically one way into Vancouver from Abbotsford. Like you just pop on the highway and you go. And when there's no traffic, like when it's fine, it takes about an hour-ish, depending on where you're going, 45 minutes to an hour. There was an accident, 264th, where there's always an accident for whatever reason going west. And so I had to go, like, there's a roundabout way, kind of. But of course, everyone was going the roundabout way because traffic was stopped. Like, it was pretty much just stopped. So I had to go around. And I think it took me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get into Vancouver. And find parking and, like, go to this. Okay, also, I've never been there before. So I had Google Maps telling me where to go. And then I was also trying to get Siri to call the store so that I could tell them that because I said I was going to be there at 6 to like come in around 6 to come and set up everything. And like I was trying to get Siri to call them so that I could tell them I was going to be later than that. But there's like 800 places in Vancouver called West Coast something. Like I tried so many times, and then I eventually just gave up. I figured if Glenda was really worried about me, she would have sent me an email or something. So, but the night was really fun. I knew that I was expected to talk a little bit about the books that I brought and stuff, but there ended up being just a lot more public speaking-ish kind of bits than I was expecting. I mean, it was fine, but it was just like, I kind of wish I had just been a little more prepared for that. But the whole night was fun. And then on Saturday, we did the Strand workshop, which was super fun. Strand is about combining different yarns, like all kinds of different yarns, to make your own fabrics. And it's really, really fun and a really great way to use up scraps. So Glenda had told everyone who came to bring yarn that they wanted to use. Like we were going to do a project or at least make some swatches or things with their own yarns. I brought some yarns as well to like supplement, and I spent about half an hour, 45 minutes just kind of introducing the book and kind of the technique and how you do it. And there was 3 people in the class, which was the perfect size. Like get me in front of 10 people and talking, and that's a little bit too much for me. But 3 people, that was perfect. Everyone who came was really engaged and really lovely, and I don't know why I would have thought any different, but like it really felt like people wanted to be there. And so I taught what I needed to teach, and I had made some swatches, so I handed out the swatches and showed them everything. And then we spent the last, like the class was about 3 hours, and I was a little nervous about having to fill 3 hours. Like that's a lot. But once I finished kind of explaining everything and answering all the questions about the technique, we actually started doing it, and I think everybody really enjoyed it. One girl actually finished a whole button cowl, which was cool. And then we just kind of chatted about knitting, of course, and then also about other things. Like it was just a really lovely group of women, and a really excellent time. I had a really good time doing the workshop. And I don't know if I said so before, but like when Glenda approached me, because Glenda, the owner of Wet Coast Wools, she approached me about this and said, hey, I have this idea for a workshop if you want to do it. And I thought about it for a couple days, and I was gonna say no, because like this is not really my thing. But then as I was sat down to like write this email to her, I just said yes. Like, I don't know, it just like came out as a yes. So I said yes. And that night, or maybe the night after, I had the worst anxiety dream. Like, I don't know. I remember I had like I had driven all the way out to Vancouver, and I didn't have any of my supplies, and I didn't have my notes, and I think Glenda had a copy of the book, but I didn't have any of my printouts, and nobody had any yarn, so I couldn't even like show them what to do, and it was terrible. It was awful. And so I was really, really nervous about it for like, I almost backed out again because of that like crazy stupid dream. And I'm glad I didn't, because I know I'm not gonna drive somewhere and forget absolutely anything. And even if I did, all my stuff is online. I could have printed it out. And like, that's what I kept telling myself. It's like, even if I do forget absolutely everything, they work, like it's in a yarn shop. She's gonna have yarn and needles and a printer. Like all this stuff that I wanted to give these people, the people who signed up, was all online. So like, I have it all. It just needs to be printed out. Anyways, I'm glad I did it. And thank you so much, Glenda, for having me. It was a really super fun weekend, and I can't wait to do something like that again. It was really awesome. Yeah. So I guess for finished objects, I have nothing. I finished everything last week that to show you. So nothing new this week aside from this, but I don't think it really counts as a finished object. For works in progress, I do have some things though. I have a couple things here. This is one that you've seen before. I believe I showed it last time, and it has no name at the moment. It's a new design that I'm working on. It will come out sometime in the fall, I think late summer, fall. But it is a dress to go with in part of a collection that Katie and I are working on. So I'm just about done. It's getting nice and long. I think it's going to be about just above the knee. And you can't really see because it is bunched up, but there is a bit of shaping in the body to, not like a super A-line, like it's not going to be flowy. It's going to be, but just to give a little bit of extra room at kind of the hips. It's not going to be a straight tube. I know that's kind of what Katie wanted, but it takes a certain body type, I think, to be able to wear that. Or not to be able to wear that. Anyone can wear whatever they want, but I just feel like slightly A-line will be more flattering on more people. So that is there. And I think I only have a couple more inches to go on the body, and then it's going to be done. So that's very exciting. Well, then I have to just finish up the armholes, and then it'll be done. The yarn is, what is it? Midnight Cravings Sweet Sock in the smoked paprika colorway. Really lovely, like kind of deep red color. And then it also has like pink undertones, which will go really, really lovely, I think, with the other garments in our collection. One thing that I'm doing a little bit differently on this one, because it is so long, the last time I did something that was really long, the Lilium tee. Now, this is something that only I have ever noticed. And you probably wouldn't notice unless I pointed it out to you. But one side is slightly shorter than the other. And that is because when you use hand-dyed yarn, when I use hand-dyed yarn, when you use hand-dyed yarn, you should do this too. You alternate skeins. Because hand-dyed yarn is just that. And there will be slight differences. Sometimes you might get lucky and you won't notice, but sometimes you will notice. And that is something that would really bother me. It kind of bothers me when I see it on other things too, but that's just not something I could handle. As much as alternating is kind of a pain in the butt, it's necessary. But what I've done is, you can see a little bit where I've done it, but on the inside, I'm doing it in a little different way. This is what the inside looks like. And that kind of, just that little ridge there is, sorry, I'm having a really hard time putting this where you can see it. There you go. There we go. No. There we go. So that ridge there is where I'm alternating my skeins. And usually what I've always done, and I think what most people do, is when they're switching their yarns, they twist them together. But usually what you'll see is a little kind of seam almost on the inside, and a little column of these twists in the yarn, because you twist them together. And how you kind of achieve that is you bring your working yarn from behind and go over top of the yarn that you've just used. But I found, and I can't remember where I read this or what, but if you take it underneath and don't do that twist, you're not going to get any gaps or anything, because I mean, you don't get any gaps. Like you barely see it at all. Once this is blocked, you won't be able to tell at all where it is. and you don't get that little seam, and that twisted part is what was pulling up on the Lilium. And so I didn't want this to happen on this one, especially because it's going to be so long and there's going to be so much weight at the bottom. I didn't want it to stretch out unevenly because of that one side that has the seam. And I know some people do it in the back, or like in the middle of the back is where they switch their yarns. But I don't want to seam up the middle of my back either. So it's been working so far. I've been really happy with it. And I think that's kind of how I'm going to do it from now on. So to reiterate, instead of taking the yarn that you're switching to and pulling it over top and doing that twist, just kind of put it underneath so that you don't twist it. I don't know, give it a try. Let me know what you think about it. And that one will probably be done. I'm hoping to have that done this week because I've gotten some lovely yarn in the mail and I'm itching to start another new design. But I'm not winding it up until I finish this one because this one needs to get done first. The other work in progress is a new one that you haven't seen yet. These are my double whammy Harry Potter socks. So these are the Hermione's Everyday Socks, and that's a free pattern on Ravelry, except as usual, I did the fish lips kiss heel instead of whatever was in the pattern. Just a simple patterned sock. There we go. You can just use knit and purl stitches to kind of do this little bit of texture along the leg, and then the bottom of the foot is just in stockinette. And it works really well with variegated yarn because I don't really like pooling and things. I mean, the yarn that I'm using obviously doesn't pool, but I think it just helps break things up a little bit. Plus it makes it very stretchy, so that's nice. I did 64 stitches on a US 0 needle, which usually, like if I'm doing it in stockinette, depending on the yarn, but it can end up a bit tight for me. But adding those purl stitches in just gives it that little extra bit of stretch, which is very nice. And I tried these on the other day and they're fitting really, really well. The yarn, so Hermione's Everyday Socks, so that is Harry Potter reference number 1. Harry Potter reference number 2 is this yarn here. This is 6 and 7 fiber in the Milo base, and the colorway is called Hogwarts A History. That's something I ordered a while ago. I have tons of her yarn. I love her yarn. But it's this guy here. Just this lovely, sorry, I don't know what's going on. I feel like my camera's on the opposite side of how I usually do it, which is why I'm like, oh. Anyways. So just a lovely mix of like blues and grays and a little bit of yellow, and some dark brown and a little bit of rust, a little bit of green. Oh, there's lots of colors in here that I really like. And the other color here is Knit Picks Stroll Tweed. My kind of, oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on. It's kind of my go-to yarn for heels and toes and cuffs. And I always try and keep some neutrals of this on hand. I feel like it's really good to use with other things. I have knit like just full socks with it too, and it's also lovely for that, but I just use it for heels and toes and cuffs mostly. Yeah, and so this is going to be my 5th pair of socks to go in my box of socks here. My fifth, yeah. And then they're also for the Grocery Girls sock knit along. They're sock bash. And March's theme was books or movie or TV, and so you get 2 entries. If you can enter whether you follow the theme or not, but you get 2 entries if you do the theme. So yeah, and I actually haven't got it yet, but I won for January, which was really, because they do a drawing every month, and then they do drawings at the end of the year as well. And so I won a prize for January. So that's really cool. I'm really excited to see. I don't know what's coming. They don't really tell you what they're sending you, but I'm very excited to see. And I'll make sure I show you when I get it. And that's it for knitting. I've really just been working on that dress mostly because I really want to get that done. And the socks are kind of my take around project, as they usually are, with a couple days of like really working on them. I brought them to, I actually cast them on. I got most of them done in a day. What am I saying? I cast them on Friday morning on March 1st, because you have to start and finish them in the same month. So I cast them on March 1st because I wanted something to work on at the trunk show, and I needed a pair of socks. So I waited to cast them on. And I was like, oh, I'll just do the cuff, and then I'll work the body at the shop or whatever. And I ended up knitting the whole leg, and I ended up with the heel to do at the yarn shop. So that's kind of exactly the opposite of what I wanted to happen. I mean, Fish Lips Kiss Heel is very easy. Like once you get it and once you know what you're doing, I don't have to look at a pattern. I don't have to think about it anymore. You just kind of do it. So it's not like it's hard, but it's like the whole point was to not have something that I had to think about. I don't want to be on the heel of a sock while you're trying to talk to people. Yeah, so that's it for knitting. I do have some other things, though. I have some sewing. I decided, because Justin didn't go to work yesterday, I decided to take that opportunity to go to the fabric store by myself. Usually I have a little shadow, so it was nice to go there and to be able to just browse at my own pace and not making sure that she was entertained. And I went to Overseas Fabrics in Abbotsford, which is a really lovely family-owned fabric store. If you are out in Abbotsford, I suggest you take a peek at it, because they kind of have a little bit of everything, and they have it's a big store, and they just have a nice selection. Everything is very reasonably priced. It's not like Fabricland where you have to be a member to get the good price. You just everybody gets the same price. Everyone is really nice. I don't know if you've been to the Abbotsford Fabricland, but pretty much I'm just gonna say it straight. If you're not an older white lady, you don't get treated very nicely. Everyone's pretty snobby there. And I just never get treated very well when I'm there. And you go into Overseas Fabrics, and I got asked 4 times whether I needed help finding anything within the first half an hour of me being there. And it's not a huge store, and it's all the same family. And it's funny, sometimes they'll just yell across the store at each other. It's cute. But I mean, just the difference in the way that you get, and they treat everyone the same, and everyone's always kind of laughing and having fun. It's just a very, very different environment. It's really nice. It's really nice walking in there. So that's where I go now. I go to Fabricland if I have to, if I'm looking for something really specific. But I mean, honestly, the one in Abbotsford, they don't have really good fabrics anyways. Honestly, there's a lot of I don't know, the prints are kind of cool sometimes, but it's all polyester. So I don't know, not my jam. Sorry, I'm not trying to hate on Fabricland. I just don't particularly like the one in Abbotsford. Anyways, I found some fabric that I'm really excited about. This is just a little bit of it. But I found this, oh yeah, you can see it. This dark navy blue linen. And I'm going to make another gypsum skirt. And the gypsum skirt is this guy here. It's by So Liberated, and I'm gonna make view A with the giant side pockets again, because who doesn't love giant pockets? I mean, View B has pockets as well. They're just like sneakier pockets. But I knew I've wanted to make another gypsum skirt since I finished my other one. And I almost spent way too much money buying fabric for it. And I was like, no, I just need to go to the fabric store. And I remember I went into Fabricland once and I was just like, no, nothing was right. I'm really excited to make this linen one. What else? Oh yeah, because the reason why I love this pattern so much, if you are a beginner sewer, I highly recommend this pattern. I am not a great sewer by any means. I'm very, I would say, advanced, adventurous beginner. I have a very good base knowledge with very little practice. I haven't sewn for a very long time. And this pattern has really great instructions for different types of finishing. So there's fold seams, there's fold, F-U-L-L-E-D, seamed, felled, I don't know what they're called, as well as French seams. And all the instructions for that, it's not just like, oh, do a French seam. It tells you how to do the French seam in the pattern, which is very helpful for someone like me who had never done that before. I also love this pattern because the reason why I made it the first time is because I heard that about it. And like I said before, I don't have a serger and I don't have a modern sewing machine. I did, and I threw it away because I didn't throw it away. I gave it to I basically just gave it to the sewing machine shop in town for parts because it was too much. And the one that I have now, it's seafoam green. I think it's from the 60s. I got it at a garage sale for $20. I had it for probably 15 years, probably 10 years before I actually plugged it in to see if it worked. It was when I was having all these problems with my old sewing machine that I was like, oh, like I just want something that works. So I decided to, like, the guy, when he sold it to me, said that his wife had used it and, you know, it seemed to work fine. It had sat for 10 years. And I pulled it out, plugged it in, the light came on, and it sewed. And it just went. And it, like, I've oiled it and cleaned it and stuff since, but I've never, ever had a problem with it. Not once. So, yes. But it goes forwards and backwards in a straight line. So I can't even, like, I can't zigzag seams or do anything like that. So it was really important to me to find something that had finishing instructions because I need to be able to finish things. I can't just have raw edges everywhere. That's silly. I'm also thinking, I have quite a bit of extra fabric. I knew from buying my fabric for my first gypsum skirt, the like kind of tobacco-y colored one I made before, that the amount that's said on the pattern, maybe because my fabric was wider or something, but I ended up with a ton of extra fabric. So I cut down the fabric buying this time because the linen was a little bit expensive. It wasn't too bad. So I cut down the amount of fabric because I knew it was going to be too much anyways. And I still have quite a bit left, like a lot. So I want to make a top. Like I want to make some sort of shirt, maybe to wear with the skirt. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But just to have something anyways, because I really like the fabric and I don't want to waste it. And I was thinking of, at first I was thinking of the Ogden cami, which I know a lot of people have worn, or a lot of people have made. But there's two things that I didn't really like about it. And that was just the width of the strap was a bit too skinny. I don't know. And it didn't have Not that I could see, I could be totally wrong. But it didn't seem to have any sort of shaping. And I recently got a shirt. One of the shirts I got from the thrift store has some darts in the bust. Like it's just a simple tank top with some darts, and it just fits really lovely. So I feel like whatever I make, I want it to have bust darts. So I was looking on Instagram and seeing what other things people were making. And I think I'm going to go with the Hadley top next. It has a couple different options for like a V-neck or a crew neck, sleeveless. It also has sleeves, but I would do the seamless. And it has the bust darts, and I think it has a very like nice shape to it. I don't know. It would be my first shirt in a very long time. But if you have any like I said, I'm not an experienced, I wouldn't say I'm not a good sewist. I'm just not an experienced sewist. So if you have any suggestions, if you have any pattern suggestions that might fit what I'm looking for, I would appreciate them. I would love some options to look into. But that's what I'm thinking right now is the Hadley top. Another thing I've been working on, which is kind of knitting related, but more design related, is I've been working on finishing up that gray sweater that I showed last time. I've been working on that pattern. And the way that I did it this time is I kind of knit that sweater, not knowing if I was going to make it into a pattern or not. But I made notes and everything. Excuse me. I made notes and everything, but I just wasn't sure whether I was going to actually make it into a pattern or not. I just kind of wanted a knit that I didn't really have to think about. Anyways, as I was showing it, people really liked it, and so now I am making it into a pattern, which I always knew was kind of a possibility. But usually the way I design is I do all my measuring and kind of figure out the overall design first. I make spreadsheets and I basically write out the pattern, I basically write out the pattern and then I knit it. Like I write it out and grade it and like everything. And then I knit it. And this time, because I knit it and only wrote instructions for the one size and the stitch counts for one size, and then now having to translate that and grade that and write it after the fact. Not that it's harder, it's just not the way my brain works. I don't know. I keep second guessing things, and like it's gonna get tech edited, obviously, but I mean, I just like doing everything first and then knitting it to prove myself right. Basically, it's like, are these numbers working? Is this making the shape that I want it to? Yes? Okay, good. Like, on to the next step. Because usually I'll write out, like, the top part and then knit it. And then I'll write out the body and then I'll knit it. And then I'll do a sleeve and then, I'll kind of do it in little sections like that. And this, not my favorite way to write patterns. Good experience. I'm glad I did it because now I know that I don't want to do it again. But anyways, that one will be coming soon. And I'm going to be, I don't know, maybe I'll look for testers early next week or something. The last thing that I wanted to talk about before I leave is I booked some flights. And if you don't know, my sister recently moved to Hawaii and my mom recently moved to Tucson. So I haven't been to either place. And I really wanted to. I've been really missing my sister. My mom has kind of been, not that I don't miss my mom too, don't get me wrong, but my mom has been, she's lived in Philadelphia and she's been here and there and coming and going and for many years now. So I'm kind of used to not seeing her. I'm not used to not seeing Katie. It's really weird. And the kids really miss each other. We FaceTime all the time with them. Like Georgia and Lennon they had my phone and their iPad set up, and they were sitting on their respective floors playing Lego together. It was really cute. But totally not used to being away. So I really wanted to book a vacation to go see everybody. So what we've decided to do, because especially because Justin was off work for 2 weeks and quite a bit over Christmas as well, he didn't really want to be gone for too long. And I didn't really want to choose between where to go. And he wants to go to Arizona. Like, as soon as my mom moved there, he was really excited about going there, and so am I. So what we're going to do is over Easter weekend, all three of us are going to see my mom for 4 days. Yeah, from Thursday to Sunday. We're going to go to Arizona and hang out at her house. And then on the Sunday, Justin's going to fly back home. And George and I are going to carry on and fly to Hawaii from there and spend, I think, 5 days in Hawaii. And then so we'll be coming back the next weekend. And I'm super excited. I'm like beyond excited. I'm really happy that, like, I don't know. I'm really excited that we're doing it all at the same time. I don't know why. I think that that's just going to be really fun. Because I don't know, when I was a teenager and like in my early 20s, I would go on road trips all the time. Like Katie and I went on a really awesome road trip one time, and like my brother and I, a couple times we drove down to Coachella and like just would spend 2 weeks driving around and, you know, doing all this fun stuff. So even though we're flying, it kind of feels like that kind of same thing, just like hopping around. So yeah, end of April. End of April we'll be in Arizona and Hawaii. So there will be lots of pictures and things of that, which I think is also why, what prompted me to actually go out and make another gypsum skirt, because I don't know, it's gonna be warm. I don't want to wear shorts. I also want to make a pair of shorts. Like, that's also something on my list. Maybe after I get a couple more things under my belt, I'll try and tackle those. My ultimate goal is to make some jeans, but that, you know, that will take some time, I think, to get my skill level up there. And I think that's it for today. Yeah, as I said, there wasn't too much to show, but I really wanted to talk about my trunk show and how amazing the workshop went, and just thank you to everyone who came, and it was lovely. And show you some other stuff. I mean, I had stuff to talk about. I've been talking for 40 minutes or 50 minutes, so I obviously had stuff to talk about. Anyways, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate you coming by and hanging out with me. If you have any pattern suggestions, make sure you comment below. If you have any questions for me, or if you just want to like say stuff, I try to respond to everything as soon as possible. I'm better at responding on Instagram, I'm not gonna lie, but I do try to respond. I'm just not on YouTube all the time. You know what? I'm just like not on YouTube as much as I am on everything else. But if you leave a comment, you will get a reply eventually. Anyways, thank you so much. I hope you have a great afternoon or night or morning or whatever. It's afternoon here, so bye guys.